you do have to go through probate court. I alluded to this earlier, and I am living this nightmare myself, actually. My younger brother passed away 4.5 years ago and didn't listen to his sister and did not get his affairs in order. And so he was an attorney, a personal injury attorney, and quite successful. And he wrote his own will. So every attorney does think that they can write a will, and he did. And it was one of the worst wills I've ever seen. And unfortunately, we've spent 4 years going through probate court. So let me tell you what that looks like. So he lives in Illinois. He had a very nice house, but the house was stuck in probate for 4 years. So nobody could live in the house. We couldn't sell the house. We can't lease the house, but somebody's got to pay the utilities and the taxes on the house. And you don't have any access to the money that he had. He had a lot of money, but we don't have access to it until you get further down in the probate process. And so this happens every day. You've probably seen a house in your neighborhood that's vacant and it's not up for sale. I've seen it in every neighborhood that I've lived in. And I wondered, why is that house not having anybody live in it or up for sale? It's stuck in probate court. They can't do anything with it. And many of those will sit there so long that they end up getting foreclosed on because a lot of our families don't have enough money to pay the taxes and the utilities and the insurance and just the maintenance on a house. The other thing is, because you don't have access to any of the assets right away, somebody has to come out of their pocket for the funeral expenses and all of that type of thing. So you have to have the money, which, you're going to spend several $1,000s on that. And even though somebody might have that in their bank account, you can't get it. If it's a joint account now between husband and wife, then, the other person does get the bank account. But the house, they don't automatically get. And if they have like a 401k, that, could have a beneficiary on it. It could go to it. But there's a lot of other things that we own that just get stuck in this probate process. And so you want to make sure that you do what you can to avoid that, because your family needs the time to grieve you and figure out how to deal with that and not deal with these legal aspects. The other thing about probate court that I find very often is that it is a hotbed for family arguments. Wow. And the reason being is that because most people don't understand it. So even in my own family, my brother was, my other brother was the executor of the estate. And so he gets an attorney and the attorney says, okay, we got to go through probate, fine. We all have to sign some paperwork. So we sign the paperwork and we send it in. Now, the other members of my family don't know how this works, so they're automatically thinking they're going to get an inheritance pretty quickly, which is not true, because you've got to go through this lengthy process. And so because they don't get their inheritance and months go by, they start to think the executor is being shady. And the executor can't explain it because they don't really understand it themselves, and it just keeps getting drawn out. And then in the end, the bills have to be paid in a specific order. And so the first thing is that the funeral has to be paid for, and lawyers have to be paid for, the last medical expenses, and all the bills that someone owed. So by the time you get down to what's left, it's not what you expected, and everybody's fighting. So with a trust, the assets that you have transition as soon as you get a death certificate. So that's in a week or two. You can just make things go from one person to whoever you want it to without all of the legal stuff that has to happen and the expense and the wait time.